The glass walls of Whitmore Tower stretched into the morning sky like a crown of steel. People passing below often stopped to look up, whispering the name that glowed at the top, Daniel Whitmore, the billionaire industrialist who had transformed Chicago's skyline and poured millions into real estate, technology, and manufacturing. Inside the tower's 52nd floor, however, the scene was not of joy or laughter. It was silence broken only by the clink of a silver spoon against a porcelain cup. Daniel sat at the head of a marble breakfast table, his tailored navy suit sharper than the knives on the sideboard. His tablet hummed with emails, stock alerts, and messages from advisors. His Bluetooth headset blinked, waiting for the next call. Across from him sat Ethan, his 9-year-old son. The boy's thin hands rested quietly on the arms of his wheelchair, his legs still and unmoving beneath the tailored slacks his caregiver had dressed him in. His breakfast of pancakes and strawberries sat untouched. Ethan glanced at his father, watching as Daniel typed furiously, his brow furrowed, his lips moving silently as he rehearsed his next pitch. "Daddy," Ethan said softly. Daniel didn't look up. Will you sit with me tonight? At dinner?" His brown eyes shone with hope. Daniel paused, his finger hovering over the tablet screen. For the briefest second, guilt flashed across his sharp features, but then his phone buzzed again. He sighed. "Of course, son," he muttered, already lost in a stream of numbers and graphs. Ethan looked down at his plate, pushing a strawberry across it with his fork. He didn't believe the answer. He had asked before, and most nights his father's chair at the dining table stayed cold and empty. After breakfast, Daniel swept through the penthouse lobby with the energy of a storm. His assistant, a tall man with a clipboard, hurried after him, updating him on schedules. Board meeting at 10, followed by a call with Zurich. "Then your lunch with the governor?" Daniel nodded briskly, adjusting his cufflinks. Behind him, Ethan's caregiver wheeled the boy toward the limousine. The boy craned his neck, hoping his father might glance back, might smile, might wave, but Daniel had already disappeared into the elevator, into the world of power, where his son did not fit. The limousine door closed with a soft thud, sealing Ethan in silence. He pressed his face against the tinted glass as the city blurred by. Skyscrapers, billboards, people rushing with coffee cups in hand. Chicago moved like a machine. Relentless and uncaring, Ethan whispered under his breath, "I wish you'd see me, Daddy, just once." But the driver only turned up the radio, and Daniel's voice carried faintly through his headset as he spoke in clipped tones about stocks and shareholders. The boy closed his eyes and let the city lights wash over him, unaware that the detour ahead would change both of their lives forever. The limousine glided through Chicago's glittering downtown, headlights slicing through the evening. Ethan sat quietly, his hands folded on his lap. Beside him, Daniel scrolled through emails, murmuring instructions into his Bluetooth headset. Suddenly, the driver slowed. "Sir, there's been an accident ahead. All lanes are blocked. I'll need to reroute." "Fine," Daniel muttered, barely looking up. The limousine veered off the main boulevard and slipped into a poorer neighborhood. The polished storefronts gave way to cracked sidewalks, shuttered shops, and flickering street lamps. Daniel didn't notice. He was too busy lecturing an executive about market projections. But Ethan noticed. His eyes widened as he leaned toward the window. Children were laughing on the corner in front of a rundown community center. They weren't dressed in fine clothes. Some wore mismatched sneakers, others jackets too big for their frames. But their laughter rang like bells in the cold night. At the center of the group was a woman in a bright red sweater. Her hair was pulled back, her sneakers scuffed, but her smile was radiant. She clapped her hands, calling out, 1, 2, 3, spin. 1, 2, 3, clap. The children followed her lead, twirling and stumbling in rhythm. "Daddy," Ethan whispered. "Stop the car." Daniel frowned, annoyed. "What for?" "I want to watch." His voice carried a rare urgency. Daniel almost said no. His schedule was packed, his mind too busy. But something in Ethan's eyes, bright, alive, made him pause. He tapped the glass. "Pull over." The limousine stopped at the curb. Ethan pressed his palms to the window, watching the dancers. His lips curved into a smile Daniel hadn't seen in years. And for the first time in a long while, Daniel put down his tablet. Mariah Johnson noticed the limousine before she noticed the boy. Its sleek black frame didn't belong in this neighborhood. But when she saw the child's face peeking from the tinted window, her smile widened. She walked over, fearless. Her sneakers scraped the pavement as she knelt beside the car. "Hey there," she said warmly. "Want to join us?" Daniel stiffened. "That's not—" "Yes," Ethan interrupted, his voice trembling with excitement. Mariah crouched lower, meeting his eyes. "You don't need legs to dance," she said softly. "You just need a heart that wants to move." She extended her hands. Ethan reached out, his small fingers curling into hers. With Daniel watching helplessly, Mariah guided Ethan's wheelchair into the circle of children. At first he was shy. His hands clapped out of rhythm, his chair rolled awkwardly. But Mariah clapped with him, laughing when he missed a beat. The other children clapped too, cheering him on. Ethan's laughter burst out like sunlight breaking clouds. "Lead us, Captain!" Mariah cried. She spun his chair gently in a circle, and the children followed, mimicking the movement. Ethan's face glowed. For the first time, he wasn't the boy in the chair. He was the leader. Daniel stepped out of the limousine. The cold air bit against his suit, but he barely felt it. He stood in silence, his expensive watch gleaming under the streetlight, and realized how small it seemed compared to the sight before him. When the music ended, Ethan's cheeks were flushed. He turned to his father, breathless. "Daddy, did you see me?" "I was dancing." Daniel swallowed hard. His voice failed. All he could do was nod. That night, Daniel stood alone in his penthouse, the city glittering below. For years, those lights had made him feel powerful. Tonight, they made him feel hollow. He replayed Ethan's laughter in his mind. That sound. It was richer than any applause he'd ever earned in a boardroom. The next day, Daniel called his assistant. "Look into that community center we passed last night." The man returned with a frown. "Underfunded, sir. They rely on volunteers, city budget cuts. They've been close to shutting down twice." Daniel stared at the report, silent. Something shifted inside him. That evening, he surprised Ethan. "How would you like to visit that place again?" Ethan's eyes lit up. "Really? With you?" Daniel nodded. "With me." When they returned, Mariah welcomed them with the same warm smile. She didn't treat Daniel like a billionaire, only like a father. She taught Ethan to move his wheelchair in rhythm, to clap like a drummer, to lead with confidence. Daniel sat in the back, his phone forgotten. For once, he wasn't thinking of profits. He was thinking of his son. And every time Ethan laughed, the cracks in Daniel's armor grew wider. Weeks turned into months. Daniel kept returning. Slowly, the untouchable billionaire became just another face at the community center. He funded new ramps, better equipment, and music classes for children with disabilities, but quietly, without press releases or headlines. One evening, as Ethan led a group of children in song, Daniel sat beside Mariah. "You've given him something I couldn't," he admitted. Mariah shook her head. "No, Mr. Whitmore, you gave him the chance. You stopped the car." Daniel turned to watch his son, his heart swelling. For years, he had measured his worth by numbers. Now he measured it by smiles. By the way Ethan looked at him, not as a distant figure, but as a father. That night, as Ethan drifted to sleep in his arms, he whispered, "Best day ever, Daddy." Daniel kissed his forehead, whispering back, "Every day will be, son." Looking out over the city skyline, Daniel realized the truth at last. His billions had built towers, but his son's laughter, and the courage of a woman in a red sweater, had built something greater, a legacy of love.